Oh, give me the rock. Thank you. Hello and welcome to, man, I used to really think of these like in a good way. And it was a fun, it was one of the fun bits of the podcast, but let's see, what could be funny? What would you think would be a funny podcast that this could be pretending to be?
Boy, I don't know. I mean, we definitely need to lean on our pro-Russian sympathies right now.
Sure. Well, that's Kevin, everybody, obviously. But yeah, I'm Spencer. Okay, so pro-Russian sympathies. Okay.
Notorious Putin fanboy.
Yeah, okay. So welcome to the Soviet Cast, the podcast coming from Russia. It's a podcast that no one listens to because Russia's been kicked off all of the internets and everyone's mad at them and stuff. And that's the joke, I guess. I don't know, Kevin. I don't know. I mean, it's my fault. You don't ask for a pitch if you're not ready to accept one, But anyway, so yeah, I'm Spencer. What up? We're here. And it is That Happens, the show. And oh boy, you know what today is, Kevin?
What's today?
Today is the 50th episode of the show, and so I thought we would have a little special guest, someone the fans would be a big fan of, fans of his work, fans of his comedy, honestly, fans of his personality. And I don't, there's an argument at least to be made that a lot of people, maybe not everybody, but a lot of people wouldn't be here without his help. So today we have a special guest, and you might be able to guess who it is, but it is Kevin Day, everybody. Oh my God. It's, it's the 50th episode. We had to do it in style. We had to bring out the big guns and get Kevin Day in the house. How you doing, Kevin?
I'm doing great. I cannot believe this is our 50th show. It's crazy.
Yeah, and I can't believe we got him. We got you. It was amazing. It's such a get. You texted me telling me it was going to be the show and asked me if I wanted to do anything. And I was like, oh man, I wonder if we could pull some strings and get Jeff on the show. Maybe that could be a lot of fun. I think the fans might enjoy that. But I honestly don't even know what Jeff is doing right now. Is he touring? I thought he was like shooting a movie or something I don't know why I believe him to be shooting a movie, but that's in my head. I don't remember him ever saying that to me, but I don't know. Do you have any guesses? No,
I thought he was still on tour. Because I think in like a week or two, he's going to be at a stop near us.
Yeah.
Here. So I think he's touring.
Maybe we can get an autograph. That could be fun. But yeah, I don't know. But it's the 50th episode. Oh man. So here's another question. It's the 50th episode. Next week is Callie's 50th episode, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And that's going to be the real barn burner. There's going to be fireworks. It's going to be crazy. But she started doing the show before us, didn't she? Or did she not?
Yes, but she skipped more episodes.
Yeah, she must have skipped a lot. I mean, it's just interesting because it's like, I don't know. It's interesting that we're so close to each other given those two numbers. They just must happen to sync up, I suppose, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. Anyway, maybe it's not that interesting. Maybe it's just kind of math. But what's up, Kevin? What do you got going on? You said you were exhausted. You got any life updates?
Life updates. We went to a murder mystery dinner thing last night.
Oh God!
Where it's
Who's
like
the murderer? It was COVID all along.
Well, it really honestly made no sense. It was. I mean, I'm not trying to like disparage these people because they actually put forth a really good show, but it appeared to be a bunch of like Second City actors doing a side job of doing this murder mystery thing that was all very improv-y, and like they kind of like seemed to be making it up as they went along. So like there was absolutely zero way to have solved the murder mystery by just the clues they gave because there was not enough information. So they just basically picked a suspect as the murder mystery killer, and you were somehow supposed to know that.
Okay, so are you a fan of mysteries?
Yes, I mean, I liked solving puzzles and things like that, and I thought this was going to be one of those where like you're going to have to pour through all these clues and then like find that this number and this number matched up that nobody else picked up on, or that there was a note under your table, or I've done a few of these before that were really well written and scripted and choreographed and everything, where this was just, it seemed like a bunch of, and I'm not saying this in a bad way, but it seemed like a bunch of improvers just trying to put together a show that the murder mystery was sort of a side piece to.
Yeah, it's I mean, I'm not a huge mystery fan. I don't know if this is right or wrong, but like anytime I witness any mystery content or whatever, it's always like, okay, could any person have figured this out watching the show, right? But is that what you're supposed to be going in on? Certainly there's shows that you could never figure stuff out, and like there's shows that don't even give the appearance of like there's no way anyone could have guessed this, there's no clues,
Right.
but that's a big part of the lure, right? Is like trying to at least think about the mystery, if not getting it.
I mean, I think there's three different ways they can go with it. One is they make the solution so obvious that it attracts people who want to feel smart by solving it, because it's painfully obvious. Or they make it just absolutely impossible to solve, which is, I think, more frustrating because you had no choice of solving it. Or,
Right.
if you really do it well, there's a 1 in 100 chance you're going to pick up on the one clue that nobody else did. Those I think are very well written, and I would enjoy those. But you don't know if you have that until after you've sat through it all.
Well, that's the thing about any mystery, is it does need to be written. There's like a lot of like heavy lifting kind of structurally that needs to fit into place for it to be like at all satisfying, because you need to leave the breadcrumbs, and you need to have these reversals that they play really well both ways, and it's just that takes a lot of complicated thought. I don't know. It just makes me think of in not Harmontown, whatever. When I was in Communities, the writer's room, like when I was hiding out there, there's collections of couches, and I could crouch behind them, and they'd be talking about story and stuff, and Dan would sometimes have these big ideas for like mysteries or capers or heists and stuff for an episode. And ultimately there's like a scammers episode, which is kind of like where all that thinking eventually went. But the problem that kept happening was like, there's just never the step of the process where it's like, okay, so what actually is the path that this mystery takes as it unfolds? And like, just no one ever bothered to think that. They just always put like TBD this and TBD that, and we'll think of this. But it's like, no, this is, when that's the kind of story you're telling, you have to completely build it around the actual twists and turns you are going to take. You can't just figure them out later or hammer them, simply into the story circle. Like, it can fit on the story circle, but it just doesn't naturally fit. It's like, oh, of course, the goddess point, so it must be a red herring or whatever. It doesn't, it's not really super convenient. I don't know. Why did I get off on that tangent?
No, all right. And I'm not asking for like inside information, but are you referring to kind of like the Ass Crack Bandit storyline that was in Community that was never really had a payoff?
Well, it was never really supposed to have a payoff, but that I think actually felt a little bit okay as a mystery, just because it was a pretty close parody of the twists and turns, and it's like, oh, who is this? And and it, us believing it's different people, especially at the end, is like, you could conceivably believe different, like, you're kind of supposed to believe that, oh, everyone honestly believes it's everyone else and they have a solid claim, and then you're supposed to like conclude it probably was Annie. But still, there's a pretty strong moment in that episode where it is like, no, it could be Jeff, it could be Dean, it could be, it could be anyone. And I think that's kind of supposed to be the takeaway. So I think that was actually pretty well done. But no, it was like it was like a scam episode, like a con artist episode. Everyone was trading suitcases and stuff. It eventually turned into like some sort of caper episode, but it just wasn't anywhere near as elaborate or silly as like the initial kind of conceit was, because again, it's supposed to be this kind of like wild goose chase kind of con artist movie, and it didn't really, I don't know. I mean, it kind of, Community is already all a bit like I can't talk, a heist movie or something, because like usually at some point Jeff is just like, you know what? Actually everything bad is good. And then people are like, oh yeah, you're right. And then the episode ends and it's like, haha, the prestige. And it's like, yeah, no, everything was bad, but he just talks his way out of it and everyone agrees because it's like, yeah, no, it's time to end the episode, and there's not really a great reason why it should actually buy the justification it does. In the good episodes and stuff, I think you do buy these motivations and stuff, but in the less good ones, it feels very, oh, well, Jeff said the magic words and now the show resets for the next episode, which is, not ideal. I don't know. Whatever. It's a nitpick. There's all sorts of nitpicks. Jesus Christ, dude. What? This murder mystery thing. I don't know. Why do you? So you've been to good ones. I just like, it seems to me, it just seems like it would be so bad. I don't know. I guess what I find abhorrent about it is probably what people find fun about it, which is like, oh, look, I'm Mrs. Beauregard. It says on the card, and haha, I love my poodle, haha, and so people can be all like, oh, I'm doing the thing, and isn't this fun to be having an activity? But I mean, I guess that's what D&D is anyway. So maybe I'm just being stupid. But
no, I mean, I've been to good ones. This one, I don't know. Like, they had some obvious plants in the audience that were like talking in exaggerated stage whispers and just like way too enthusiastic when getting called on and stuff like that. That made it just blindingly obvious that okay, it's him.
Right. That seems like a format choice because, like, if there's people that need to pipe information, I think there's ways that you can do that in ways there's like, yeah, this is part of the show, of course. Whereas that seems like, oh, we're trying to both be obvious and hide it at the same time, which is like, well, what are you going for here? Is this subtlety, or are we supposed to be all like, no, this is an obvious plant? Or is it supposed to be like, oh, I'm just taking earnest information at face value? Oh my God. I'm a 4-year-old.
Right.
But you ever do those escape rooms? We've talked about this, haven't we?
Whatever. Yeah, I've tried a couple. I feel like, again, it's either one of those that is just impossible to figure out, and some people enjoy that, or it's blindingly obvious, and that fine line between the two is so rare that I didn't really enjoy them.
Yeah, I've only done one escape room, and I don't know. I found it very frustrating just because I was thinking about it in terms of, oh, we're going to be solving puzzles, almost like if you opened a book of puzzles, it would be things like that. But it was more kind of like practical problem solving stuff. For instance, there was like a thing where you had to, I think you were trying to like wire something because it was a Titanic themed escape room. And so we were trying to like wire something. And what you did is you would drag, I think you had to take a key, but the key was like attached to a pipe. And so you had to drag the key along the pipe ring, like without it getting stuck on dead ends. So it's like, basically you're just kind of like doing this maze or something, but it's like, well, that's not, I just trace the line and then go that way. It's like, I don't know. Like, I don't know who's going to be all like, oh my God. And they're just smashing the key to the end. And they're like, it's a dead end. What do I do? And they're just smashing it. It's like, no, this is very clearly, it's like a 3-branched path. And let's just go, I'll just check out this branch. Okay. I don't know. So, and then there was another point where there was a gun in one of the bedrooms. It was like a bedroom of the Titanic or whatever. And there was a locked door that we were supposed to use to shoot the lock. And I guess that's logical, but it's like, I'm not thinking like, oh, the puzzle is I'm going to have to shoot a lock and do something fake physical, because it's like, well, the gun's not going to shoot. Why would I believe the gun would shoot? And why would I believe the gunshot would shoot the door open in a metal bulkhead? Like, it's like I don't know. It doesn't seem very puzzling, but it is. Like, it's it's like a practical puzzle, but it's just like, but so like those ones I was just like, well, I'm sure any person would have got this. Well, the key thing I got instantly, but the gun, it's like, I'm sure anyone would have got this, but for me, I just did not think of it because it's like, well, it's a puzzle room. You're not going to be shooting doors open. Like that would be stupid. But maybe it was really smart. But I don't know. The rest of it I thought was pretty cool, but I mostly, went between just kind of like, oh my God, we got to solve this, to like, I don't like this puzzle design.
Yeah.
Which is maybe special insight or perspective for me, who knows.
The one that I did, so there was like this, I think it was an 8x8 grid of like plug sockets, like for a guitar cable. And so they gave you like this handful of guitar cables. And the clues told you that you were supposed to take these 4 guitar cables and know, like, you plug them into each cable goes into 2 of these sockets on an 8x8 grid. And so, like, I spent pretty much the entire half hour trying to, like, find a clue to figure out which one was supposed to go to which one, because there was, like 1,000 possibilities of how you could have done this.
Yeah.
And could not figure the clue out, so gave up, time ran out. And I asked at the end, okay, so how was I supposed to, like, what clue did I miss? And they were like, oh, there wasn't one. You were just supposed to try them all. Like, you were supposed to, like, take these cables and try 1,000 combinations until you found the one that opened the door, which to me doesn't seem like a puzzle. Like that's brute forcing a solution, not a puzzle.
Yes. So that raises the question. Like when I went, there's 2 things. One of them, they said there will be a hint for every puzzle, and like just one hint. So like you'll either find some sort of puzzle or some sort of hint that's basically all, or it's just like set dressing, and so it's like, but I don't think they ever had one where it's just like there's no hint. Maybe the hint's like a bad hint, but I don't think they would do something where it's just like, oh no, this is unattached to anything we're talking about, which is like what it sounded like, where it's just, oh, you just try stuff. But then the other thing is, when we did it, there was cameras in every room, and you can, like, they said do a special pose because, I don't think they were listening. They probably had to turn off the volume or whatever. But you could see on the security cameras if someone was like standing on one leg with their arms up. And so they're like, assume the pose and we'll give you a hint. And so we got a lot of hints. Otherwise, we definitely wouldn't have been able to finish in time. Is that a normal thing, or is that something you had, or no?
Yeah, the one that I did, there was a button in every room that if you pushed it, they would come on and give you a hint.
Right. That's probably a lot cheaper. But yeah, I don't know, man. It's a cool idea. It's a really cool idea. It's just like, because it seems like, I don't know. Like, imagine like a crazy dungeon master doing like a crazy, with a lot of money, doing like crazy dungeon puzzles and stuff that were like really impressive, and not just like, someone got a book of puzzles and was hired to design like a dungeon, or, I don't know, like, not to talk down to them or anything. It's just like, you'd think that if someone was really inspired, they might be able to do something crazy with that as a format. But maybe, it's more of these dinner theaters, or kind of, these, I don't know, like Dino and I think some of the Harmon gang was into them, like these kind of live experiences where it's happening in a building and you could pay attention or not, but it's, there's storytelling happening. Have you been on anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, long time ago did this like dinner theater thing that was like, so Chicago has this big like Prohibition era gangster thing, and in one of the old buildings that actually was a speakeasy, you go through this secret little tunnel to get to it, like under a street, and then you end up in this hidden restaurant where they do this whole like dinner theater thing of, I forgot what it was, but it was like some 20s themed gangster shoot 'em up kind of thing that plays out, and like they're moving through the audience as they do it, and some random audience member gets taken as a hostage and stuff like that. That was okay. Like I would have preferred not the audience participation, but
yeah, that's more of a dinner theater thing than this like kind of like live ambient theater experience. Or I don't even know, they have like names for these things. I don't know what they're called though. Immersive, whatever. Who cares? Who cares about any? It's 50 episodes. Jeff doesn't even know this exists. Like, he probably doesn't even. If you asked him if there was anything notable about Sundays for him, he would be like, "No. What do you mean?" He wouldn't like think like, I guess I do a podcast on Sundays. I don't know. I shouldn't shit talk Jeff too much, but it is something I think about, I don't know.
Yeah.
Do you have anything bad to say about Jeff?
I mean, nothing bad to say about Jeff. I
Darn.
just, this was not the podcast I thought we were making. Not in a bad way.
I think in the bad way. Yes. No, I think in the bad way. I think it's almost, you don't think of a name being a big swing, when people are like, oh, the winner, and then it's like more like the loser and stuff like that. But it's like that happened. It's like, no, it didn't. It did not. It's the podcast never happened. It didn't happen. That did not happen. That's like, I don't know. It's I don't know. It's weird. It's like, I don't want I like podcasting, but a 50th episode is like, what are we? This is just nothing. This has never been anything. We maybe need, again, no offense to Kevin, but we maybe need like a real producer or something, and then they can do all the work for us, and then we just show up. I mean, you got enough work anyway, right?
I have a lot of work, yeah.
And then then the producer's like, hey, we got Joe Biden on, we got special guest Joe Biden. It's like, holy shit, like, oh my God, why did we do this sooner? And then he's like, and also, you don't pay me money, I pay you money. And then we're like, oh my God, like, that seems good. Like, why don't we do something like that, right?
I could book guests if that's where you're going with this. I could easily be booking guests every episode.
I just don't want to. It seems like there's just another person that should do more work than us, because the amount of work I do is nothing. Like, I don't do any work.
Okay.
This is the show. Like, this is my contribution is working out workflow possibilities on air on our 50th episode. I don't know. Or having midlife crises. Who knows? I don't know, man. We used to play D&D on this podcast. You remember that? Yeah. Man, I'm in a bit. This is, you know why? Did I say this was going to be a bad show? That's why it's going so bad, is I don't think I said it was going to be bad, but whatever. Kevin, you know anything about Play-Doh?
Play-Doh? Not much. I mean, I know you can make it yourself.
Nice. I was talking about The Philosopher, but when I said that, I was like, it would be funny joke to reference Play-Doh, and you did that, so that's good. Maybe I should have done a joke the other way to kind of, just whatever. But yeah, you know anything about the other Play-Doh?
Not really. No, I'm not big on philosophers.
Not big on philosophers. Why not? You don't like philosophy? Do you find it uninteresting?
I just find it a little bit too soft.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a lot of people saying obvious things and treating it as though it was super profound.
Right. Yeah. And it's like, everything is profound in the sense that, like, anytime you watch anyone do anything, it's like, holy shit, like, there's so much, specific detail that goes into any random task, from assembling some sort of cheeseburger to building a big, just the biggest gun, like a giant gun, just a lot of detail goes into it. But anyway, I agree that it seems pretty dumb, but at the same time, it is like being able to just talk about the fundamental nature of reality in those terms. There is something to me kind of interesting about that.
What about Plato jumped out to you?
Oh, I was just going to talk about, Plato, he has the simile, the metaphor of the cave. And I promised ages ago that I might get into a pocket rant. And I don't think, have I talked about Plato's The Cave too much on the show here?
I don't think so, no.
Well, do you know about Plato's The Cave?
Other than that it's a thing, no.
Yeah. So I think it's a really important thing to learn. And I think everyone should learn it. And you should probably learn it pretty early. Or I don't know. The thing is, conservatives are great liars, right? Everyone knows that they lie. They lie all the time. And the best part about it is it doesn't change anything. It doesn't matter. Like, they're never held accountable to their lies. Because something that the conservatives understand is that the truth does not matter. The truth doesn't matter. The truth is, as fake as anything else. The realest thing in the world is our perceptions, I don't know. You don't know too much about philosophy, but I think Cartesian dualism is kind of about, it's like, oh, you have the mind and then the external world, and those are kind of like these separate realms because we're perceiving out of our minds. So anything that we perceive has to go into this mind from the outer world, and it never really connects. I think they also talk about, like, there's no proof you exist. This could all be a delusion. You could be having a dream right now, and you could be in the Matrix. Like, all these ideas about your senses aren't the same as reality, right? But all we have is our senses, so reality doesn't matter to the extent that only our senses and our sensory perception matters. Well, it only exists. Like, it's the only thing that exists, like, to the observer. And, I think physics is, like, this gets, whatever, who knows? All my rants are pseudoscientific, who knows? But, it also gets into, like, quantum physics and stuff where it's like observing something changes something. Like, you might, like, the position isn't necessarily set without an observer. So it's like, maybe observable reality doesn't even exist outside of being perceived, But, Plato's allegory of the cave gets into all this sort of things, sort of stuff. And I don't know. I don't think I talk about it the same way it gets taught, but when I learned it, these things jumped out at me. And so that's the way it kind of stuck in my brain. But the allegory of the cave is, imagine a cave. And if you heard this before, I'm sorry. But I think, again, my spin is maybe a little bit different. But imagine a cave. The cave's really deep, really winding. No light really gets in. And at one end, the deeper end of the cave, one of the, dead ends of the cave, you have kind of like this raised area. Think of a catwalk or something. And then you have, up in that raised area, you have a fire. So the fire can, cast light on these cave walls. And if you were standing in front of one of these cave walls, you'd see the light on the wall in this dark cave. The cave is black other than the light from this fire on this wall. And so if you're standing on the catwalk because of this cave, you can hold up your hands and make shadow puppets onto the wall, right? So you have this essentially crude shadow puppet theater stage in this cave. And then imagine that setup. And then imagine in front of that catwalk is these like iron chair cages kind of situations, torture rack sort of things, where you can strap a person into it and they are incapable of moving any inch of their body. They're just incapable of moving. They can't even like move their eyes really. So they're locked into place looking right at this cave wall where these shadow puppets can be cast. So that's the setup. You imagine this hypothetical person who all they've ever known their entire life is being locked into this torture chair. They've never spoken to another real person. They don't even know if there are other people. They don't know what they are because they haven't seen other people. They haven't heard, real human speech. They haven't talked to real people to know what speech is. They don't, they don't have any comprehension of reality or personhood because they haven't been taught these things. They've been locked in a cave. But what they have been taught is it's a shadow puppet theater. So people can stand on the catwalk and do puppet shows. And all the people can see, their whole existence is these puppet shows. And if the people make noise, they can hear they can hear that noise. But they've never necessarily tried to speak themselves. They don't know what language is necessarily unless the puppet shows taught them that. But a person in this world, their entire reality would be composed of what these people taught them, these shadow puppets on the wall. If you held a shadow puppet of a book up or a person or a cat, they would be all like book, person, cat, sure, whatever. But they wouldn't think of a book or a person or a cat. They'd think of a shadow puppet, this static form on a wall. That's not a cat. It's a plane. It's the absence of light, right? But in their mind, that's all it is because they don't know what a cat is. All they know is what a shadow puppet told them what a cat was, So you imagine the metaphor with the conservatives and stuff. It's like the reality outside the cave doesn't matter. What matters is the shadow puppets that we use to perceive the reality. Cartesian dualism. The shadow puppets are our perceptions, but we can't ever know whether or not they are reality or they are just our approximations of reality because we're stuck in this cave. So, that's kind of where we're building towards, just to kind of zoom out, because I am going to zoom back in so imagine, a person who is locked up, in such a way their whole lives, they've learned these values of the shadow cave paintings, we don't like the light. We hate the light. It burns us. Movement is bad. It hurts us. Movement is painful. You instill these values, and that's all the values these people have. And so what would happen if you suddenly undid some of the latches of their chair they get the slightest bit of freedom. Imagine their neck is finally able to move and they can move their head. And wait a second, they can see more. There's more reality than they've ever seen in their life because they've never moved their head before. And also, what's this? I'm in terrible pain because my muscles have atrophied so far that moving a single, inch of my neck is going to cause me pain. And so it's like, oh my God, it hurts so much to move. If you eventually got enough movement to kind of turn around and view the source of the light, that would be painful too. It's so bright. It's brighter than these reflections cast on the wall. It's a fucking fly. It's fire. You've never seen fire before. Maybe you never even heard of fire before. So everything is new and frightening and painful and terrible. And all you want to do is kind of just put it out of your head. Let's just keep looking at this wall. That's the most comfortable thing. I might be out of the energy to do more than that. But, if eventually you were free enough, you might slowly experiment with moving, looking around. You might understand like, oh, this is a space. I can move in this space. You might even be able to kind of approach the fire. But again, it's just so bright. It's going to burn you. It's going to hurt. It's going to make you not want to look at it. But if you eventually get acclimated enough, you might realize like, oh, there's things I can look down and see at my hands. I could see the chair I was in, and these are completely different than shadows. This is a whole different world. I can't believe I was perceiving shadows before. But you wouldn't be able to describe this to another person who was locked up. Like if you walked in front of them, they would be befuddled. You would be like seeing an angel or a god, because they've never seen a real person before. They couldn't understand the language you were using. You're saying the fire. You're saying look behind you. They don't know what any of these words mean. You're just this crazy person ranting at them. And then if you tried to be all like, no, okay, so what happened to me is I actually had to get acclimated. So let me take off this cage, and then they can move, and now they're in pain, and you made them in pain. You put them in pain, and if they turn around, their eyes burn because the sun or the fire, and so. It's just you have this natural, I guess I kind of told this story out of order a little bit, but we have this natural kind of instinct to like, or this natural, not even instinct, but this natural inability to understand outside of our own shadow language. Like we can't see the reality that other people have seen. We can only kind of use the shadow language. Anyway, so to kind of divert just a little bit, if you eventually walked out of the cave yourself, you would again be struck with the brightest light you'd ever seen, the real sun. You wouldn't be able to go out in daylight. Even if you've been staring at the fire for ages, you still couldn't go out in the daylight, way too bright, and then eventually, you might go out at night and you might see like water and grass and be like, holy shit, there's like more colors than like just black and red and stuff. You're suddenly seeing the world as it truly is in real sunlight, not or real moonlight at this point. But at some point you're acclimated to a real world, and it's like there's so much. I was just in the tiniest portion of a cave my whole life, and there's so much world out there. You look and you see your reflection. You finally actually know what you are. Because you didn't even know what you are. You thought you were something, but you didn't know what it was because you didn't have the language to describe it. But it's so many stages of acclimation, so many new bright lights that burn you, so much pain of acclimating every single time. It's terrible. So again, kind of, if you go back into the cave and try and explain this to people, they won't do it. And if you ultimately like try and drag them out of the cave, they'll think you're killing them. They'll think like, oh my God, I'm in the worst pain that I've ever been in. I keep seeing brighter and brighter light that's burning my eyes, making me I can't see anything, and this person that I've never seen before and that I've never comprehended is just dragging me painfully across a rock floor, and so like, they would be in the rights to think that you're hurting them. You're traumatizing them, and you might even be killing them. And it's not unreasonable for a person in a position like that to lash out in violence and kill someone. And if you were trying to be like, no, you're just in a cave, it'll be so easy. It's just give you, I swear, in 20 minutes you'll be fine. You'll be like, what? They'll kill you over that kind of conversation because they have this reasonable belief based on the perceptions and their sensory experience that what you're doing is really bad. And so you can't drag someone kicking and screaming out of the cave. You can't use your words to describe to them the universe that they've never encountered. What you can do is manipulate them. You can go up on the catwalk and put up shadows, and you can use these people. You don't unlock them. You can say like, oh, here's the shadows. And also, it hurts to look at the sun, but sometimes it's good to look at the sun. And oh man, it hurts to move, but sometimes it hurts to move. And then later it hurts less. And then it doesn't even hurt to move. And then you slowly use the shadow language that they understand to incept these ideas in ways that they can accept and understand them that can work for your goals. Because if you just tell them the truth, they will kill you. But if you lie to them like you think they're the idiot pieces of shit like that are, lower than animals, they could do whatever you want. You control them. And again, that's what Republicans understand. They know that reality doesn't matter. All that matters is being able to use the right words to get the right behaviors out of the people that they have all captive, Whereas Democrats, we just go like, oh, well, I'm sure once they see the light, they'll be like, oh, this is what reality is. But it's like, no, they think you're killing them. And when they see the truth, they're blinded. They can't see anything anyway. So anyway, so I think the allegory of the cave is really important to understanding how people work. It was really big for me because I don't know, I feel like I can be really logical, but I could also be really self-righteous. And a lot of that kind of weaves into it where it's like, if I'm being self-righteous, I'll feel like I'm being logical. And if I'm being logical, I can feel like I have the logical capacity to be self-righteous given the circumstances. And it's not really logical, but in, other times it can be. And it's like, why don't you just be reasonable or whatever? But it's like, well, reasonable doesn't even exist, and if it did, it wouldn't mean anything to anyone anyway, because that's just not the reality anyone else perceives. It only matters to me, and I have no way of communicating this universe or this concept to anyone else. And words break down, obviously. You can say this, but who knows if you really mean that. Again, that's kind of the whole premise of the shadow language and stuff. Anyway, any big questions? You got any questions? There will be a test.
So I guess, how do you use this knowledge then to help people? Because it seems like, kind of your underlying goal is like, hey, I tried to help this person and I wanted to show them the truth and they couldn't handle it. What do you think the solution to that is? Is there a solution?
Yeah, the solution is you got to lie to people. You got to understand the shadow language they're working with, their worldview, their reality, their terminology, their values. And then you got to manipulate them using those. Like it's like a kid, if there's a kid that's being a brat and, for instance, I don't know, they won't put on their life vest or something, if you can lie to them and say like, oh my God, I just got you a puppy. It's in the other room. Just put your life vest on and we'll go over there. That's justified. But that's, obviously you could say that saving a child is a moral act and trying to, get Arby's, for instance, is, a selfish act. But in either case, understanding how people think and perceive is really helpful to actually getting what you want, especially if that's helping other people. If you want people to improve, you can't just be all like, oh no, it's good to brush your teeth. You got to really come up with a reason. You got to convince them, why it's in their best interest. I don't know, whatever, man. We didn't really talk. Oh man. Okay. So I've been wanting to talk to the audience with the call-in system, but we haven't solicited any callers or a topic or anything. And on Tom's show on the Best Show, where they talk to the audience members, he does a long show, and he also just at the top of the show, he says what the topic is and he says the number and stuff. But we probably missed the boat on that. You think we could talk to people? I could come up with a question. It would have been good to do this before I went off on a rant. So then the whole rant, whatever. What should we do, Kevin?
Let's give people a topic, and then we can chat a little bit and then come back when I have a couple people waiting.
So the topic is why'd you risk it all? People take big risks. They take big chances in their life. Sometimes they take big swings that fail. Sometimes they miss. You go on a passion project. It falls apart. You try and change jobs. You try and start your own business. I don't know. You start a Patreon. These kinds of things. And so sometimes they succeed. Sometimes they fail. I don't know. You got anything like that?
Okay, so I'm asking people in chat, why did you risk it all? I've given them the instructions how to call in. So let's give them a couple minutes and then I'll pop back to them.
Okay,
I
cool.
have a philosophical question for you while we're waiting.
Sure.
I think this is Plato, but again, I'm not really much into philosophy here. But
Hmm.
there's kind of a philosophical belief that there is no such thing as true altruism. You can't do something truly altruistic because you're still doing it because it makes you feel good, or you're doing it for some other reason. Nobody does anything for a truly just to help somebody else kind of thing. Do you believe in that?
Yeah, but it's like yes, I'd say generally I agree with that. I think when you were saying it, I was just now thinking like, oh, maybe there's caveats on stuff. But like, I feel like there's maybe a little bit of caveat just to, I think if you think something will do good, you can sacrifice for it, even if it doesn't necessarily make you feel better. It's like, oh, this will be good. And it's like, I think like you could argue with this no altruism model, it's like, oh, they're trying to buy some form of peace of mind. But I don't know if they actually get that peace of mind necessarily. They just think that it's part of like what they're supposed to be doing. And I think in those situations, those people are probably not motivated by any sort of kind of altruism. I guess that's still probably self-interest in a lot of cases, but I think there's like a circumstance where you do something fruitlessly or just thinking it'll help and it's just kind of bad. It's just a waste of everyone's time, But yeah, yeah, like so if you give to charity, you think that you're being good and you think it's good to be good, and so you think you're doing a good thing and you think you're adding to the sum total of good in the world, and that is giving you some amount of peace of mind or satisfaction, which is selfish. And I agree with that. I think I do things where I feel like I'm doing them just to be nice or just to help people, and I don't like question, oh, is this just a selfish desire to like get praise or feel better about myself? I think about stuff like that, but I still do the thing, and I personally try not to be super forward with stuff like that. Like I don't know, like recently, not recently, years ago, the person I was driving behind a person in Griffith Park, and they threw out a flaming piece of paper out of their car in like a middle of like wilderness with dead leaves and stuff. And so I pulled over and like stomped it out. And that's like the kind of thing I usually wouldn't like tweet about if I did, which I've done stuff little like that. That seems like a higher stakes incident, but I do stuff like that a fair amount, or like I'll pull my car over and pull debris out of the street and stuff. But like a lot of like I talked about, like I tweeted about when I stopped the fire, just because I was like, well, if there's an arsonist, I'd rather share information, because it's like, who lights a piece of paper on fire in their car while they're driving on a mountain road and throws it out, in a like a relatively dry patch of kind of like vegetation? It seemed really intentional to me. But yeah,
Yeah.
but I do agree. I don't know. What do you think?
I don't know. Like, I feel like I do things that are truly altruistic, but I've had people argue with me that no, I'm not. Like I think a lot of what I do, like, say you and me are doing something, I try to like figure out like if I were in your shoes, the kind of person you would want me to be. What would help you the most, and I try to be that person. Just in between like one or just between me and one other person, and just in general, like I try to be the person that I would have wished was there. And I don't have any expectations from that. I don't have any, I don't get some kind of good feeling afterwards. I just am like, hey, this is how we all need to act. The world would be a much better place if everybody did this, so I'm going to do it.
Yeah,
but
I'm like that too. Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
Do you think that, though, alone invalidates it as not being altruistic then?
Well, okay, everything you just described there, you could also map on to like, it would be nice to eat a candy bar. It's like, oh yeah, sometimes someone needs a candy bar, and it's like all this stuff's true, but it's like at the end of the day, it is kind of just like, it does make you feel good. It's like, it makes me feel better to know, like, okay, so for instance, sometimes I will give people money. Not like people ask me for money. It's just like homeless people, or like charity, or not charity, or like GoFundMe's and stuff, and I do it because I know it'll help them. And like, I'll feel good. Like, I know I'll just waste that money. Like, if I spent the same amount of money on food over the course of like 3 months, or I spent it on weed or video games or something, it wouldn't make me feel as good as spending that money helping someone, and it is legitimately helping someone. So it's like, I can help someone legitimately with this money, and that'll make me feel good, like feel better. or I can spend this money on myself, and I know that how like far that satisfaction goes, and it's not very far. So it's like that is like I am trying to help people. That is a huge part of the calculus, but another part of it is like this, like it's almost implied. And I would rather do this with my time and money than do something else right now. You know. Which, you know, sometimes you're in the mood to help and sometimes you aren't, you know, sometimes like there, for me, there's a lot of times where I really want to help someone and then I don't. And I think that's another reason why I'm driven to help a lot, is maybe just to kind of put a tamp on those kind of guilt feelings. You know, it's like, well, I helped this other person, so maybe I can feel fine that I didn't do anything this time or something. I don't know. I'll tell you, I'll go one further though. I've talked about this before, but I don't believe in free will. So it's like, I don't even think anyone does anything for any reason, let alone, you know, good or bad. And I think it's kind of similar, because it's like, if everyone's driven by their baser instincts, then everyone's also driven by physics. So it's like, I think those are similar. They're different levels of complexity, but they're similar philosophies on like reality and ethics.
So do you, I mean, just to see if I'm understanding this, is your belief sort of like that, you know, you are a computer running this program, and when you get these inputs in, you're going to do these actions, and that's, you know, any illusion of free will is just an illusion, and you're going to just do what you're going to do because that's who you are.
Yeah, we are programs. We accept stimulus, and we have outcomes. We make thought, and those thoughts make action. You know, it's the same as any program. Yeah, I definitely believe that. I think all creatures are the same way. It doesn't matter. It doesn't mean like, oh, I can go on autopilot, because you can't. You know, but from a fundamental religious level, yeah, I do believe that we don't have free will. It's just, again, I don't think it matters. Like, there's no reason dwelling on it. Anytime anyone has ever dwelt on free will and fate and stuff like that, it's always felt stupid to me. It's like, well, knowing or not knowing doesn't change. Like saying, hey, the world could end tomorrow, that doesn't make it going to happen. It's just, yeah, everything's a possibility. Like, all these things could have, it doesn't change anything, you know? Like, so yeah. But yeah, I just think, like, you know, it's just physics, right? Like, think about it. All physics is particle collisions. You know, or all reality is particle collisions. That's what the Big Bang was. Chemical reactions are particle collisions. Particle collisions are just billiards. Billiards are just physics. Physics are just, you know, it's dominoes. Dominoes, they fall. You know, like, everything that's happened is a result of complex particle collisions that are so complicated that we could never possibly understand them. But hypothetically, I think they could be understood. You know, if you had like a crazy computer at the beginning of time and watched the Big Bang for long enough, you might eventually be able to be like, okay, it's been 2 eternities. We can predict the next eternity because we have enough data now to see, oh, this is how all these particle collisions behave. You know, I think it is, because otherwise we live in a magical world where laws of physics don't apply, right? I don't think there's another option, really, right? Like, even quantum physics, that's pretty magical, honestly, right? The idea that a particle stops existing because you don't look at it, that's stupid. It's honestly stupid. And in my opinion, there's probably a more complicated explanation that we don't understand yet, and so it just appears to us that way. But the underpinning of reality is maybe more complex and makes more sense logically than that explanation. Anyway, it looks like we have people in the visitors room. So I got to ask, do I have the boot privileges?
You do. And I believe both of our guests are repeats from last week too.
Oh boy. I'm sure they love to hear that from me. Just an exasperated.
Okay. Should we start with the first one?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, Mr. Luke is joining right now.
And he's connected. Oh, I was just going to wait for him.
Oh, here we go.
Oh, did we get both of them?
We got both of them. Okay.
Oh my God! Did I do that? I think I did that. Okay. So hey, Luke. It looks like we got Kelly connecting. So okay. So I guess I think that was my mistake. But we're going to have to take turns because I accidentally fucked up. Let's start with Luke because I think we admitted Luke. So if you want to,
you can boot me
Kelly,
right now
if you have you have anything funny to say, Kelly, you can chime in. But I would say kind of mute to start off. Oh, I can mute you too, but I'm not going to. I'm going to respect you at the moment. But like I said, if you have anything to chime in, yeah, pop off. But well, let's talk to Luke, our first call in. Where were you calling from again? I'm sorry.
I'm from Polkshaw, New Brunswick.
Okay, I don't remember that last time. Did I not ask you where you were from last time?
I think we talked briefly about it. Bowling alleys.
Yes, Brunswick. Okay, yeah, we talked about Brunswick. Okay, yeah, New Brunswick. Okay, awesome. So, what was the question? Oh, it was about risking it all. When did you risk it all?
I hitchhiked across the country a few times.
Yeah.
So
what was that like?
It was a lot of things. Scary, fun, big adventure. It was like
how many times?
5 by the end, maybe. Like back and forth trips 5 times.
Gee, okay, so what possessed you to do this?
Adventure, man. It was like I was really into choose your own adventure books as a kid, and it kind of went from there. By the time I was 16, I kind of felt I had plateaued with learning at home. Like my parents had taught me kind of all they could. So away I went. I grabbed a backpack and a guitar and was a traveling bard.
Wow. Well, what were the biggest wins and losses of your risks? Like what's the coolest and worst things that happened?
Life experience was one of the coolest ones. It just, I mean, I had to learn a lot of lessons that aren't common experience or anything like that, but I had a lot of fun doing it. There were a lot of good times and a lot of bad times. Met a lot of famous people along the way for what that's worth. But more than that, I learned to be who I am today, I guess. Yeah.
What was the most danger you were in?
Oh, Lord. People that were drunk and driving with firearms in the vehicle. As far as hitchhiking goes.
Yeah, remember, folks, Spencer says not to drive while drunk unless you have firearms in your vehicle.
Yeah, no, there were a lot of strange times out there. I mean, it's like the Barnacle underbelly of society. So you end up, out after midnight and seeing a lot of crazy shit.
Yeah. All right. So, okay, awesome. Well, that answers that question. Do you want to go on mute and let Kelly talk for a bit? If you have anything funny to pop off with, you can. Otherwise, I don't know. I'll have to find a funny combo time to kick both of you, huh?
I feel like Barnacle underbelly is a really like East Coast thing to say. Very maritime thing.
Yeah, I don't
boys,
think
there
about
be barnacles in life.
Do people think about the sea very much?
They do in New Brunswick, I think.
In New Brunswick, yeah, we think about it lots. Fisheries are one of our big industries here.
Mm-hmm. Kevin says he feels like Jeff does. Yeah, Jeff loves all these naval books. I don't know what the deal with that is. But yeah, no, I guess, yeah. But also, I don't know. I feel like on the East Coast, you feel closer to the ocean or something than on the West. I don't know. Maybe that's just me. But anyway, what's going on, Kelly? What's your danger, Bane? Like, what's your risk? How'd you risk it all? Why'd you risk it all?
Yeah, this sucks. I don't know how to follow that. Mine is way less cool. There's no drunk people or firearms in my story.
Well, we can add some.
Yeah, we'll add some. Yeah, I don't know. I was just going to talk about. I'm kind of doing a risk right now because I stopped doing shitty jobs that were making me miserable, and I'm trying to focus on some creative projects. And in some ways, that is like already financially hooped me. Yeah, I'm trying to get into like freelancing, but it turns out everyone wants to edit video, and there's a kid in India who will do it for like 10 cents. So that's bad.
Yeah, man, I've been on TikTok a lot lately, and fuck, like this next generation, it's just like, how kind of Photoshop became almost like this de facto like job requirement, like where you don't need it, but like everyone just could use Photoshop, and it wasn't like the kind of marketing draw it used to be. Video editing's gonna be like that, because to be on TikTok, you basically just need to be a one-person production studio. It's insane the kinds of shit like kids will do. I mean, obviously they have time and stuff, but it's still impressive, and it's just a normal skill, like typing was when I was a kid. It's crazy. It's definitely gonna shake the foundations of the world. That's what you're trying to get into.
I wisely chose to try to get like 10% good at a lot of things and not 100% good at anything. So, like I went to school, I got a certificate in game design. I don't use that. I've taught myself video editing, and like I can do more than like probably a random jagoff, but I'm not entrepreneurial. I don't know how to like market myself. And yeah, I tried starting like a live stream show with some friends locally, just trying to like do role playing with local guests, and like, wow, that's a slog. I envy someone who says I can get a guest every week, because like, getting guests is a nightmare.
Yeah, when Kevin said he could get a guest every week, I didn't believe flexing. It. It was just, I've talked about how a lot of times Kevin will say something and I'm like, there goes lying Kevin, always lying. And then because I forget to correct for the fact that Kevin seems to generally be a truthful person. But I associate him with lies. But no, I agree. It's hard. It's hard to do a show at all. It's hard to get another person to show up at all. It's hard to start streaming. It's hard to grow an audience, especially from like a small following. I mean, I have a pretty big following, and like on Twitter on Twitch and stuff, I don't get a lot of I'm not like upset with my views, but when I first started streaming years and years ago, it was a real surprise. Like I would be like, like what is it? I have like 30,000 followers. Yeah, it's like my ratio is like maybe one in 1,000 of my followers watches my Twitches, which is again fine, but it's like it's surprising, and I don't know. It's amazing that anyone has ever started from nothing and built up like some sort of media empire, and especially these days, But I don't know.
Well, especially I found that like what's a real dick punch when you do put yourself out there and you're like, hey, you know what? I'm finally going to do it. Like I want to do a project. We're actually going to like follow through with it, and you'll talk to someone who's like, hey, they're unemployed right now, but they used to be an audio engineer, and I'm like, that's so good. I don't know anything about it. Can you tell me how this thing works? I don't know how to set these knobs. And they're like, oh man, I'm really busy doing nothing. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. I'll figure it out. I might be figuring it out. I don't know.
Yeah, it's hard. It's, there's a lot of people who ask for help and they don't want help. They want other people to do stuff for them. And so I think people can be guarded and not necessarily want to lend expertise, especially in kind of these like amateur professional kind of fields, and especially like creative fields and stuff. I don't know. Like people will ask. I don't know the last time anyone's ever asked me if they wanted to get lunch, but it's a precedented thing to ask people in Hollywood to get lunch. And a lot of times that means like, oh, hey, can you offer me a job? And it's like, there are people who ask for lunch that just want to actually get real information and maybe get notes on a script or something. But a lot of people are just like looking for stuff. So I'd imagine a lot of people have been burned and they don't necessarily want to help and stuff, but it's hard. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know. I've always tried to do all sorts of stuff my own. I'm afraid for asking for help. I've been fucked up as a kid, but I don't know. Right now I'm trying to do a secret animation project that I was telling Kevin about. I'm trying to teach myself animation, and so I've just been drawing, animating, and it's a nightmare, but it's really fun. And I don't know, but if I had to rely on a single other person to do it, I would be fucked. And anytime I have to Google anything, it's fucked. It's like I have to slog through a lot of things because no one knows how to explain it right, and it's like, I just don't know what I'm doing. It's hard. But
with which software? Like, what are you animating with?
I am using Adobe, so I'm drawing in Photoshop. I'm doing some of the movement in After Effects, and then I'm finishing it in Premiere. And I've never really used any of those apps before, except for Premiere to do a couple videos. So it's like I'm learning. Well, I've done Photoshop as a kid, but I haven't used Photoshop lately. And not, like an artist does. Anyway, you guys got either of you guys got last words before we fucking kick you to the damn ass moons?
I would say that I'm jealous that you have Adobe. I'm torturing myself with DaVinci Resolve. It's making me want to die. And so no, I can't even collaborate information with you. I couldn't tell you how to work your thing, but
that's okay.
If you want to outsource your editing, I'll do it.
You never know. I mean, it'll be cool, but yeah, I would hate to rely on another person, but I don't know, who knows? It's been fun doing it myself and just trying to teach, but who knows? I don't know. But yeah. Anyway, Kelly, I'm trying to kick you, and I don't know how.
Oh no, I better say something.
No.
Better say something rude. This show needs more guests. Yeah, we got to get some more guests on here. More D&D.
Okay, yeah, more D&D.
Start with D&D.
It's too late for D&D. Is this going to kick him? Okay,
there's a delay.
Okay. Sorry,
I was killing my timing last week.
It just says remove. It seems like it's whatever. What's up, Luke? You got any last words? I'm sorry,
Hey,
Kelly.
Yeah, no, happy 50th podcast. And Kelly, man, try Stuff for 101 if you can't find anybody. Another shameless plug for 101 on your show.
Yeah, man. Yeah. 101, 102, even better, right?
Right, totally, or anything.
Oh, it was just a little too late to catch him mid-sentence. I really should have set him up with like a better kind of pitch or something. I don't know. Man, another thing, again, in reflecting on the 50th episode. Okay, so I love complaining, but I feel like complaining people take it stronger than I intend it. But to continue to complain, no one likes this show. I don't think they should. I'm not saying more people should like it. I think the right amount of people are liking it in the sense that I don't think it's necessarily well executed or, anything. I mean, I can't imagine that this has been like an hour, right? I guess it has been a little over an hour at this point. But who would listen to this? This is insane. But, it is. It was.
I'm just looking right now.
Oh, shit. Siri just started talking. Kevin, you got cut off by Siri.
Oh, sorry. On Apple Podcasts, we have 4.8 out of 5 stars. That's, people are enjoying this. I don't know why, but people are enjoying this.
Yeah, no, 7 people are enjoying us. Absolutely. Yeah. No, there's definitely people. I'm not saying they're fake. It's just the amount was less than I expected. But, again, it's I don't fault anyone. It's not like, oh, I deserve more. I absolutely don't. I don't I think it's surprising we get this many. But why am I spiraling again? I have another pocket rant, but I don't know if we have quite enough time. It's a good one.
We can go a little over. It's fine.
Okay, this is maybe gonna take. Well, let's just do it. The thing is, like, these are topics I wanted. The cave was a topic I wanted to talk about for a long time. The other topic I wanted to talk about for a long time is the Apple method, which is what I learned at Apple Store as part of my employees training, and it's been very helpful to me. It was called the Apple Steps of Service, which is how they want you to deal with customers and go through the customer service process. But they said it was also good for talking to people, or you can kind of adapt it to dealing with problems or working through issues with people. And it really helped me a lot. So yeah, let's just talk through the Apple Steps of Service. I'll talk to in retail terms first, and then talk about them in like maybe a more personal level. So the first thing to know about the Apple Steps of Service is there's actually 3 Ps, and the 3 Ps go in any order. So there's 3 of them, but it's not like you have to do one first and then the other. They all kind of cycle depending on context. So the Apple spelled out is approach, position, probe, present. Those are the 3 Ps. And then listen, and then exit. So approach is how you enter the conversation. In retail terms, you want to make eye contact, you want to smile, you want to be forthcoming and direct, try and be friendly, say nice things to them. If you can chat them up or ask them a question that kind of, as an icebreaker, go for that. A lot of times they would say, lead with telling them something about an Apple product they're near or looking at or seem interested in, or offer them a demonstration of something, or even just point out, oh, hey, did you're looking at the iPad, did you know about this feature? And then you just show like an obscure feature, like maybe, I don't know, you can increase the text size on an iPad or something, so you just quickly demo a feature. So it's like, you're kind of greasing the wheels to this interaction. You're not confrontational. You're coming in kind of on the same direction, hey, let's do it. Let's make this happen. We're having a conversation, and in real life, this comes across, or in personal relationships, this comes across as not, being angry angry, trying to choose the right moment of when to talk about things, and not being confrontational, be upfront about your intentions if that's relevant, where it's like, hey, I'd like to talk about this. It's not a big deal. I didn't want to get a fight about it, but this is something that was important to me, so I thought maybe I'd bring this up and see what you think. Stuff like that. There's ways to frame interactions that are good approaches. So that's A. So think about your approach. Again, the P's are cyclical. So depending on what you're learning from the people, you're doing different things. So, but let's start with present. So present is you offer them something. When you're talking to a customer, you say something along the lines of, "Oh, if you're looking for video editing, a MacBook is actually surprisingly powerful, and you can use it on the go. And look at this screen." And so you're presenting them a solution to a problem that they're having. And for interpersonal conflict, this is about problems. So presenting is about offering possible solutions, pitching solutions, trying to solve the problems. So, in the sales term, obviously, that's easy. You just pitch them products that you think that could be helpful. Oh, you like editing videos? You might want more RAM. I don't know. But yeah. So anyway, but presenting happens in addition to probing, which is just asking questions. A lot of times you have to ask questions, and there's a good and bad way to ask questions. At Apple, they would want you to position, permission, and then probe. So positioning, well, let's talk about positioning, because there's presenting, there's probing, and positioning. Positioning is maybe the most important part. Positioning is setting expectations. Expectations are what makes everyone unhappy. If you were expecting to eat and you did not eat, you had a misset, your expectations did not get met, and as a result you're unhappy. If you were starving and you don't expect to eat, and then a fruit falls out of the sky, your expectations weren't met, but they were exceeded. Your expectations were exceeded. So expectations are kind of the key to happiness and upset, frustration and stuff, which is important in the customer service situation, obviously, and equally obviously interpersonal kind of relationships and stuff. So what positioning is trying to set the table politely and setting firm boundaries with clear communication that like cut off certain pathways that aren't productive and kind of frame things in ways that are productive. So in a customer service experience, a customer comes in because they jizzed in their laptop and they want to get a better computer than they had before. Sometimes people do stuff like this where they demand they come in with something from like 97 and they demand like the top of the line $5,000 computer as replacement for damage that they did, not even a dysfunction or a malfunction in the device. And so setting expectations is in a healthy, non-confrontational way. It's like, even if someone, they're like, oh, they said on the phone I could get a free phone or whatever the thing, you go, well, we have a store policy of never offering free products in circumstances like this to customers. So we're not going to be able to help you out there. But what I can do is maybe offer you a discount or give you a free repair, and so like immediately you're positioning and you're setting expectations. You're saying, do not expect to get the better computer for your jizzed on keyboard. Instead, expect a mild discount at best because I am helping you in a way that you are not supposed to be helped. You kind of elegantly do all these things by setting the right expectations so that if they keep saying, no, I want the free computer, it's like, well, I told you you're not getting one. Do you want to leave? Do you want to talk to my manager? Because we're not moving forward on that front. I'm sorry. We could go down these avenues. So positioning is like that. It's, it's setting boundaries. It's making your needs known. It's, if you have problems, it's bringing up the problems you have, and you got to do it in a way that doesn't feel like attacking and isn't confrontational. It's about personal, setting boundaries, stuff like that. And then, so then probing again is asking questions. When you present anytime anyone talks, it's an opportunity to probe because people give you information. If someone says, oh, I'm looking for a laptop for my kid, it's like, oh, this kid's a student. Maybe they like games. Maybe they're interested in videos. It gives you some ideas on, oh, they probably want a laptop. You might not necessarily want to drop a $4,000 Mac Pro on a teen, so it's like, but then it's like, oh, what does your kid like? Do they like sports? Do they like YouTube? and so now you're probing because you're trying to get better information so that you can present better solutions, or set better expectations. Sometimes you can set positive expectations where it's like, oh, you're here in the summer, we have this back to school event, we can actually, I don't know if you're thinking about it, but we can actually give you a free iPod Touch or something. So it's like sometimes you can set expectations in positive ways that kind of delight and surprise, and that's another kind of thing you're supposed to be doing. Anyway, listen is L. That's the second to last letter. Obviously, it kind of goes back into probing what I was talking about. Anytime they say anything, that's opportunity for you to learn information, and it could give you an opportunity to ask new questions. It kind of strengthens your relationship with the customer or the person to show interest and ask them questions. But at the same time, it helps you solve their problems. It helps you present solutions that they need and that they're willing to accept. And so obviously in a confrontation or personal conflict, that means listening to the person and really understanding not just what they're saying, but what the intent behind what they're saying might be. People don't always necessarily have the words to say exactly what they're feeling, but sometimes you can kind of intuit things that they mean by stuff that they say. But listening is a huge part of having any sort of conversation. And then end. At Apple, it was, end with an invitation to return. Usually, say, hey, come back soon, or there's other things like, oh, if you should sign up for a class. We're doing, Monica's teaching everyone how to use PowerPoint or whatever, just kind of because you're trying to make them leave with the understanding, oh, they want me here. This was a comfortable place to me. It wasn't frustrating. I enjoyed being there, and it didn't feel like I was being sold to. It's a nice space to go. And so in a personal conflict, it's, this wasn't a fight. This isn't me yelling at you. This is, I wanted to share a problem I had, or I wanted to address a problem you had, and this is the best way I thought of to do it. And I want us to be comfortable talking to each other. I want us to be comfortable being able to bring up problems we have to each other, and I want us to be able to work through them together and not feel scared by that, and if, this is what was weighing on me this time, but I want you to always feel this comfortable saying things that come up to if anything ever comes up, and if you ever, think about anything, please come to me. I'd love to talk to you like this. I don't want to be causing you any problems. So, anyway, so hopefully that kind of is a really rough. I mean, I couldn't go in too much more depth, I suppose, if I tried, but between the Apple steps of service, and the Plato's allegory of the cave, I learned how to deal with humans in a way that I just never was capable of before I learned those things. It just was like, oh, no, this makes sense. Of course. Why would anyone else do anything else? And it just, but you don't think about this stuff. I don't know. And at Apple, they always said that, this is going to be worth it. Like everyone would always talk about the Apple method or the steps of services. Like, when you leave here, you're going to have the Apple steps of service, and they're going to be good and helpful for you. And, everyone would talk about that when I was working there. And it's absolutely true. It's maybe one of the most helpful things I've ever learned. But yeah, anyway, so hopefully one of those two rants might help you on this, the 50th episode. I don't know. The show didn't happen. The show doesn't exist. What the show is me and Kevin talking, and I guess people stop by and listen sometimes. So, I don't know. The best we can hope for is the talks are either entertaining, relatable, or helpful, right? I don't know. So hopefully we did that. Obviously, it wasn't what Kevin was hoping for, which is like, the big special with Dan and Jeff and everyone. I'm sure. I don't know what Kevin was thinking, but I'd imagine that's what he was planning. But this is true to me, to the spirit of the show, which is just, no one tried and no one really cares, and we're just here, and so we're just gonna run out the clock, and hopefully sometimes it's good, and it's not always gonna work, but that's where we are. So thanks so much. You got any last word, Kevin?
If you're watching this live, stick around. 8:30. It's a brand new 2-hour long Found Crap Rob just put together.
Holy shit.
And if you're not watching this live, you got to come check us out live every Sunday night, starting at 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern at schwabhomevideo.com. We've got like 6 hours worth of live programming every Sunday, including this show, and you can call in and be a guest.
Yeah. I want to talk to more fans. That's something I want to do more. No offense to Luke and Kelly, but it's just, when we talk to the fans on Harmontown, it was kind of cool to get different people every time. Like please keep volunteering. That's not the problem. The problem is that I would like to reach more people. You're doing everything right, you guys. I appreciate the volunteerism, and thank you so much. I guess I want to plug real quick. I have my Patreon. I just released Casinos and Commerce, the March release. This one is good, you guys. It's honestly, I really just want to show. I'm thinking of maybe just selling it on like DM's Guild or something, because I just want it to see. I want more people to see it. That's the thing about doing this Patreon, is I just want everyone to see this stuff, but they're only going to see it if they're subscribed to my Patreon. But I have that. I also have the Big Dogs D&D stream. We do that Tuesday nights at usually about 6 p.m. Pacific time. That's been going really well. I don't know. I don't want to put too much expectation or weight onto it, but if it keeps going, maybe we can put that on the Sunday night feed or something, because it is really fucking funny. Yeah, we killed Nacho Man Dandy Ravage last week, so that was fun. Oh, and the gang got a new party, a giant frog man named Beef Lord. So yeah, it's a great podcast. We held like a beefy boy competition to hire a new member of the party. Jigsaw blew up Glenn Bell's head. Jigsaw from the Saw movies. So I really think it's obviously silly, but I don't know. I think it's actually really funny and fun. So you should check that out. Twitch.tv/Frank Howley or the Sixler, because I stream it too. Sorry, Kevin, for going so over time, but you know what they always say: when the zeros be blinking, my mind starts a thinking.